So this is a question around in week 6, case 2, where we're forecasting year 4 workers' compensation claims. And here's the ask. The ask is we want to build basically 3 forecasts. Now, these are low to medium coverage. These are thresholds. So we can build a forecast based upon a 0 threshold. In this case, a low threshold, in which case it's going to ignore everything underneath $200,000, or a medium, in which case it's going to ignore everything under 400,000, and then the high, which is only going to be a few observations in our claims. Okay, the ones that we have. And let's just look at those claims. I think they've got it here. A bunch of stuff open. That's probably why everything isn't working so fast. Okay, so where do we put this in here? The threshold, I gotta find where I had the threshold offhand. There was a parameter, a lot of parameters, confusing, which means user interface might be helpful here. View threshold. Okay, there's something called the threshold. Where did it go? Where did it go? Yeah, down here. There we go. There is a threshold here, and here it is. At a 200, if you set that at 200, you get a low threshold. You're including lots more data. Now, how do we know we're including lots more data? If we go over here to the grid approximation model, okay, you see that 200 is brought over here. Okay, it knows its mu threshold, and all of the data, looks like it's going to include all of the data. We have a 201,000, a 202, all the way up to $28 million worth of claims. God forbid that happens again, because it'll wipe us out. Okay, that's the whole problem with this business of workers' comp claims. But at 200,000 is no problem. So that's the lowest possible threshold. And as you can see in the programming, if this is less than, if this number here is less than the mu threshold, set the probability number equal to 1. Now the probability is not 1. What's going to happen is when we multiply all of these numbers together, the 1 acts like a 0 if you were adding it, because we're multiplying. When you multiply it, it just does that. The thing with this one here is that these are so improbable up here that this hypothesis of a sigma of 50 and a mu of 0.5, or not a mu, a C of 0.5, is so improbable it's going to come up as 0 anyway. So it's not going to be a big deal. But that's the low threshold. And when you run that, all you're going to do is you're going to see these numbers here. Will take a screenshot of it if you'd like. Take a screenshot, and you will have a scenario, the low threshold scenario. And then you can compare that with the next case, which is a 400, for example. And the next case, which is a 1,000, for example. And that gives us a sensitivity analysis. That's what we're after in all analysis. We want to compare and contrast different situations. I kind of left this rough and ready for you because without much of a user interface, the final case has much more user interface in it, partly because we're using the final as also an assessment of learning outcomes in general. But in this particular one, I wanted you to work with the model, at least get yourself inside the model and run it. Now, you have this, but you also have all of this to play with. So you can look at these results, or alternatively, take the relative frequencies and the cumulative relative frequencies and look at the bathtub that you have. I mean, we call this a bathtub, right? Yeah. Like a European bathtub, high on one side and low on the other. Don't fill it up too high. Okay, so you got that going on. All right, at least you're smiling. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So that's one threshold, because the forecast is really these numbers here, from min to max, and how probable it is, to get, a $500,000 threshold. So it's 25% of the time. 50% of the time, it's $1 million too. 75% of the time, it's a $10 million. That's a lot of claims to expect in a year. And of course, you have the max here. We know what the max is. We know what the min is. Okay. So that is that threshold. The next one up, if we wanted to do that, just to compare it, see if we can find this thing. That's the data and the grid setup. I mean, you can move this. So instead of 200, let's look at 1,000. Now notice our 75th percentile. That's an important one. Most insurance companies will use that as a deductible level. Anything under that, that's on you. So if you have a $500,000 claims, that's your problem. Okay, unless you want to figure out how you can fund that, which is the next problem to solve. But the forecasting problem, they'll say, Berkshire Hathaway does this, for example, with Geico and with general reinsurance. They'll set two thresholds, like the 75th and maybe the 90th. Actually, they use the 89th, believe it or not. It's a prime number. They like that. Anything, in between those two, they will insure. And you'll pay a hefty premium for it. Anything beyond 89, that's catastrophic. And they actually have an insurance program for that catastrophic piece. Okay, it's all done on these probabilities. They're revised year to year to year. But if we up this just to see how bad things get at the 75th percentile, put up to 1,000. It's done all the calculation now. It's all calculated. And we go back to the result here. Look at the 75th percentile. Okay. We still have these. And now we have $10 million there, the 75th. Did anything change? Well, no, nothing changed because we didn't run simulation again. So what's the intermediate step? You got to press the button simulation. Okay, and then it will take all of these things into account, recalculate them, resimulate them, and then you'll be all set. So where's the simulation piece? Over here. Nah, not over here. Where did I put it? And that means you have to know where everything is in the model. This is the probability grid for a single run. And this is all of this. Good. And we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Oh, we definitely don't need that. And where did we put the simulation? There it is, simulate claims. So we're now at 400. Resimulate everything. And let's see if these 200 thresholds had changed. They will change, but let's see how much they change by. There we go. Say okay. And let's see what changes here.
I don't have that tab in the one that was posted on Moodle.
This tab?
The tab that involves simulation. I'm looking at my what I pulled from Moodle right now. Yeah, it's not on here. Here, I'll show you if you want to see it.
Oh, wait a second. Which one are you talking about is not on there?
The simulate button.
One with the simulate button? This one?
I
That's
have
not on
the
there?
tab. I have the tab, but I don't have the simulate button.
Okay. Easy to get to. If you right click this button, you'll see how easy it is. So let's install it. Wondering where it is on your machine then. Let me go to Moodle. I'm going to have to shut down some things here. Yeah, just one or two things. Okay. So building a button is easy, fortunately. So you can put the button in here immediately. I just want to show you what is in this button. Format control. Okay. Nope. Wrong one, Bill. Assign macro. I just want to show you where it is. So this is pulling it. Can you read that? I can't read it at all right now. It says weeks assignment to claims Monte Carlo click. Okay, where
Maybe if
is
I try
where?
to open it a different way, I'll have the button.
Yeah, I mean it might be somewhere else on your particular version. So let me bring that up and see what that looks like.
Okay, enable macros, update, continue.
Now, if you didn't enable macros, it probably won't show.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
There it is. That is there.
What tab on?
This is from Moodle.
No, I know. What tab's the button on?
The same one, EDA claim sim. I just pulled, this is the one I just pulled up from Moodle. So it is there.
But it's not showing up on my computer.
No idea why not. That's a good question.
Cameron, if you try to open it on your computer, does it show up? If you're still here?
It does. Sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to get back to the window.
Okay, so you at least have it on your computer so we can.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, so we'll just do it on her computer because I don't know
Okay.
why it's not showing up on mine. But
The important thing to see here is when we, this is a different one altogether. I don't know what new threshold that is. Let me see what that is. That's at 400. Okay, look at the difference from the previous one was 10. This is double at the 75th percentile. So the effect of increasing the threshold is to literally translate and shift everything up. And now the deductible is at 20 million, instead of 10 million. Okay, so pretty much what happens is if you change the threshold, you double the threshold, you're going to double these very large numbers, okay, all the way up. If you set a threshold at 1,000, that would probably make this astronomical. See how close the 75th percentile is to the max of 28 million? Our max experience is 28 million, very rare. What would happen if it was a lot more than that? I don't know. Class action suit against the entire group of companies that are in this insurance fund? Yes, that's exactly what happened. And then you attempt to settle. And that's just from a legal point of view. But this is trying just all these, the only thing these models can possibly do for us is help illuminate, not to tell us what to do, but to illuminate what all the trade-offs are, what all the unintended consequences are. That's all they can ever do. Anybody who says that these models can tell you what to do, like an AI models cannot tell you what to do. You're telling yourself to do what the AI model tells you to do. All right. All they can possibly do is help you understand the nooks and crannies of the very complicated logic that's underneath all of this. That's all they can do. And especially when we get to the final, where we're matching balance sheet items. The balance sheet items are, what is the present value of our claims experience, right? And how are we funding that? So that's a liability. And the funding of it is an asset. How do we match those? How do we match the claims with one another? And then we simulate 10,000 times or 100 times in our particular case. Because if we did it 10,000 times, we'd have to go out for lunch, dinner, probably go to bed, get back up, hopefully remember what we were doing the next day, and come back and the thing is probably still running, because when we're doing that, we're running lots and lots of calculations, and it will do it. It will do it. This one is a 10,000 run simulation to come up with these numbers. So the exercise here, once again, is find. I mean, the easiest thing to do is just say, do this. This is what I would do, I guess. I would say this is the threshold. And in the grid setup, you would say this number is equal to whatever we decide to put here. Right now it's zero threshold. You could say zero threshold is my threshold and have the extremely low threshold. So it's going to be all of the claims experience. Well, what happens is the percentiles will wash out and down into that zero threshold, and your 75th percentile won't be as big anymore. Okay, these are forecasts. These are things that might happen. Not only do we have a forecast of what will happen by threshold, I see what happens here with the zero threshold. Keep this $20 million 75th percentile in mind. That is just huge. I'm going to rerun this. And even this is taking a while as the wheels go around. But look at all the calculations that have to be made 10,000 times over. Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. Yes, congratulations. Look, went down to 5 million. 20 down to 5 million. Okay, that's what you have to talk about in the little essay that you're going to produce around this. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Isn't this fun? This is, I keep, well, you know, we've talked before. I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you doing? Oh my gosh.
I'm doing all right. I graduate in 18 days.
I
So,
Yeah,
know.
me too. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We're all looking forward to it.
Yes.
Get you out
And
the general population and
yes.
make the world a better place. You already are, but
To the
now you're
work
really gonna.
floor, into the workforce.
That's it, into the workforce. So so that your next job is to finish this up and write it up. Now, what I would do is I would just take a screenshot of this. I would just take a screenshot. Now, in my computer, I have a little thing here that says print screen. Watch what it does.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, I would just take this stuff out.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
you know, and well, eventually something will pop up. There we go. There we go. Everything's very slow today. My computer's being hacked. I can feel it. Anyways, it's trying to. Oh no, not that. Okay, all right. So okay. So anyways, uh, somehow I have to take a picture of this or just record it and say the 75th percentile is what our target is. And at the 75th percentile, a threshold of 0, which means all of the claims, is 5.5 million. A 200 threshold is, I don't know, whatever it is, 4 million, whatever the number is. A 1,000 threshold is some enormous number. Okay, and these are three scenarios we need to consider when we bring these models to somebody to play around with these and make a decision. Now, you know what I actually would do? I would simulate the threshold, but I'm not going to do that today. I wouldn't use this machine either. I'd probably use my AWS container and simulate it up there in the cloud somewhere where I have a little bit more compute power. Okay, that's what you would really do. And doing it in Excel, yeah, it's a stretch. It's already a stretch, as you can see. I think we're stretching Excel, and it's a rubber band. And when you take a rubber band and stretch it too much, what happens?
it snaps.
Yeah, I wonder. Just curious, what I don't know. This model may break at 1,000. I've never tried it at 1,000. Well, let's see what happens. Oh, math! It's going to work. Unless I have overflow and underflow, 10 to the 236 power or something. Yeah, it works. Yeah, whatever I told it to do, it works. What's 1,000 look like? Oh yeah, we're right at the max. So we might as well just say take the max at 75%. Look at it, so close to the max, it's ridiculous. So that gives you some insight into modeling and forecasting, because each of these thresholds gives you insight, but then you go across thresholds and you see it's very, very sensitive to the thresholds of these models. And thresholds for an insurance person means deductibles. Okay. Healthcare insurance, the whole 9 yards, all the co-pays, all that stuff, all those get worked into a big deductible in the sky. I hope that was helpful.